I'm John Paul Flame, joined by Eric Pickle, Johnny Cakes Audible, and Jason Bishop, and happy to be joined on the Mattress Warehouse Hotline by Coach Mike Locksley, head football coach at the University of Maryland. And, Coach, typically we have you on to just talk football, but obviously with what's going on, we wanted to get your perspective, and you put out a statement a few days ago. And what really jumped out at me is your perspective as a father and as a coach of players, but as a father, what is it like watching what's going on?
You know, it's obviously very disturbing, painful to watch, and, you know, just knowing that it continues to happen, you know, way too often, and it's scary. It's also scary, you know, having raised boys and a daughter as well, but, you know, it's hard to differentiate between coaching and being a parent because for me, as a coach, I always looked at the decisions I made in reference to my players would be the same as I would make for my own kids. And so, you know, having had the knock at the door and having lost a son a few years back, not necessarily to police violence, but just to gun violence in general, you know, it breaks your heart to continue to see our communities go through these types of these things.
Yeah, where do you go from here, right? Because I think everybody as a nation, right, we're all outraged that this ever happens. I think the problem is how to correct it because this isn't new, right? It's not a new phenomenon, but it keeps happening. I think that's what's so frustrating for people. And police are aware of this. They're very aware of this, you know. I just don't know how it gets better.
Well, that's the problem. I think the way the start of it is the communication. You know, we had a team meeting the other day, and, you know, I have 115, 110 players that I know are very frustrated by what's happening, and these kids now have voices and platforms, and, you know, we sat and talked, you know, all Monday in an effort to try to figure out what we could do in a way to try to educate our guys on the fact of, you know, what would they want to do. There are no clear-cut answers to it. That's the hard part. So,
yeah.
Did you encourage the kids to speak their minds or protest?
Well, the first thing I did was I wanted them to understand that that their platform they have, I would by no means try to quiet their voices or stop them from being able to go out and express their feelings. But I also wanted them to educate themselves on what they were saying and what they were feeling, and not make emotional decisions, but really think things through. I also wanted them to remember that the underlying word that comes to mind for me with all of these things that continue to happen is respect. Is that if you have respect for someone and for people, those type of decisions are hard to make.
Talking to Mike Locksley, head football coach at the University of Maryland. What has your personal experience been? You're African-American, dealing with police. It's something that the four of us, we talked about this a couple days ago. We hear about these things, but we haven't lived through them personally, like driving while black, things like that.
Yeah, see, for me, it's a double-edged sword. I grew up in the Police Boys and Girls Club down in the D.C. area, and so I saw community policing at its best. It really, we have officers that deal with our team here on campus. My wife is a former Montgomery County police officer, so, you know, all officers aren't bad.
Of course not.
Right.
So my experience has been a double-edged sword. And, again, not all police are bad, and not all African-American kids are thugs.
Coach, the reason I asked you about your players and encouraging the protests is my daughters, and I spoke about this yesterday. I got two teenage daughters, 18 and 16. And, you know, we're watching the news. I don't necessarily like them to watch it because they see a lot of the violent stuff, but, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, at least that they want to be informed. And they told me they want to go to this march, which is going to be on Saturday, kind of near my neighborhood. And I want them to do it, but I also know that sometimes they can get out of hand. Not all of them, I get it. Most of them are peaceful, and this would probably be peaceful. But I don't know, I kind of struggled with it a little bit, just knowing that there could be a few crazies out there, and you never know what's going to happen. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
You know, I've encouraged our guys, number one, to be smart. You know, I think there's, as we all know, there's always a small percentage of people that are out there to not protest in an effort to try to make a difference, but maybe to benefit from it with some of the looting and some of the other things. So all you can do is just continue to talk to your guys and your families and your kids and, you know, educate them to be really smart with how they use their platforms, how they use their voices. You know, obviously we're dealing with two things, the pandemic and being smart with that. You know, one of the things on Monday, you know, we kind of put football aside to just deal with this issue. You know, everybody wants to know about when we start back up, but I thought it was really important to create a dialogue because, again, I coach a microcosm of our society. We have all types of races and religions and socioeconomic groups on our football team, and the last thing you want is for the things that are happening out in the real world to creep into, you know, something I feel like we've really made some gains in terms of building a cohesive team that was kind of an issue for us last year, not the racial part, but just the culture of getting a bunch of guys to pull in one direction. So we thought it was important to the communication piece, and I just can't stress enough respect. You know, that word can take care of a lot of these issues if there is a mutual respect for people and their opinions and and them being no different than you.
Coach, you talked about the importance of dialogue earlier and saying that communication is the key. Would you like more of the white college football coaches, the prominent ones, to speak out on this?
You know, that's not for me to decide. I mean, everybody, again, has their own opinions on what's important to them. I know this is really, really important to me. I'm one of the ones that have benefited from the great football opening up doors for a guy that grew up in the southwest section of D.C. and graduated from Ballou High. I've seen, again, both sides of it, so it's given me a little different perspective. But, I mean, you know, I'm not going to wait on some of the other coaches to come out and, you know, if you want something, you're going to have to do it yourself. And that's why our players met and came up with their statement. They spent all Monday coming up with a statement, but also with solutions. It was one thing to put a statement out, but it's another thing to have solutions. And I was.
What
really
were some of the solutions? I would love to hear them.
Well, they put a statement out yesterday. The Maryland football team did, and their solution started with, you know, they wanted to educate themselves, one, on the voting process. Mm-hmm. You know, far too many 18 to 22-year-olds, including myself, when I was in college, didn't take advantage of the ability we have to vote. They wanted to go get out and become more involved in underserved communities with voter registration is one of the things that they've put down that as a community service project our team will take part in, as well as helping get people that can't get to the polls or get to the booths transportation to get them there. And these are some of the things that came directly from our team, from collectively. All of the guys signed this statement, and they want to educate themselves more on the voting process and how to, you know, if you want to make a change, they feel like the best way to do it is through voting. And I thought it was a tremendous answer as a team, and for 18 to 22-year-olds to think that deeply, I was really proud of them coming up with just not the statement piece, but what they wanted to do or could do to try to make a difference down the road.
Coach Locksley, how tough has it been for you and your staff to keep in touch with those 100-plus players that you talked about during both the pandemic and now the George Floyd protests and the social injustice protests?
You know, it hasn't been really tough because one of the things we started this, you know, I think we last saw our players March 12th in person, this Zoom platform.
Did we lose him?
Sounds like we lost him.
Coach.
There.
I'm going to put him on hold.
See if you can call him back. Because I want to shift and ask him actually where he thinks we are in terms of them being able to get the go-ahead, the green light to get guys together again.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And we do need to ask him how to pronounce
Talia
his brother's first name.
Talia.
That's right.
Talia. I'm still
I'm going to
struggling
say
with the last
Talia
name.
Tungavailoa.
Tungavailoa.
Yeah, it's T-U-N-G.
Talia
Not spelled
Tungavailoa.
that way, but pronounced tongue.
Yeah. Where did Piggy transfer again? Do you remember?
Oh,
Where he
I
ended
think
up?
Western Kentucky. Was
I
that
think
it?
that
right.
sounds right. And that's kind of where he's from, right? He's from the South somewhere.
He's
around
an
there.
Alabama kid.
Alabama kid, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. God, I was a huge fan of his.
I see that Pitt football players can return to campus June 8th for voluntary workouts.
Yeah,
So,
that's
that's
great.
within a week.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's about to bust wide open.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it stays calm.
Yeah, I think it will.
The worst thing would be, these teams get back together and like the kids, was it at Tulsa? I don't know, some team had a workout and 2 guys tested positive, and I'm sure they're
Well,
fine.
they should test
but-
them before, make sure everyone's good, not spreading anything.
Yeah. Where are we at with Coach?
Phone died and cut out, and he hasn't called back yet.
Oh,
I'm gonna have to recharge it.
It sounded
go,
like
here
he
we
was walking or doing something. It sounded like he was outside.
do you have him
He's a
back?
busy man.
Is he calling back now?
Yep.
He's probably on the recruiting trail.
He's on the line right now.
He's probably looking for crabs.
We figured, Coach, you probably just hung up with us and just calling another recruit.
He's not looking for crabs. He's looking for 4 and 5 stars. That's what he's looking for.
I apologize. I have no idea what happened. I'm talking. Next thing you know, I look down and I'm talking
problem.
to myself.
You know,
that,
Coach.
that tends to happen a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, we were talking about it. With this pandemic hopefully winding down a little bit now and school starting to open up a little bit, do you have any sense of when you're going to be able to start to get some guys, even if it's just for small workout stuff?
We're still kind of trying to work through it. I know we finally, Prince George's County, where we're located, obviously, has just started phase 1 of their reopening. And so still really fluid. My hopes would be sometime here in the next week that we would begin to have our players that want to take part in the voluntary program that we're allowed to do with the NCAA rulings to be back here. We have quite a few of our guys that live here in the DMV area, so it's, I feel like we're probably about a week away, hopefully, we put together some protocols on how we can return to campus and make sure we do it safely, but still really fluid.
Right. And are you envisioning a scenario where you're going to be able? Are you still planning as if you're going to be able to start on time?
Yeah,
You have to, right?
Yeah, you have to have, all types of plan A's, B's, and C's, which, I'm not a big fan of. I like to kind of say, let's deal with today and what we expect today and then make adjustments. But, I think, the plan going forward is to prepare for, obviously, the first game of the year. I want to say it's September 5th and a regular season. But being part of a conference, I know our conference commissioner, Kevin Warren, and our athletic director, Damon Evans, and all the other directors in the Big Ten Conference have put together some contingency plans that, include playing, just conference games only if we have to start later, sliding the schedule around and moving the schedule back that may, mean we play in some in early spring or January, which we haven't done before. So there's been all types of things floated. But right now, I'm moving ahead in my mind as if we're going to start on time and have a regular season.
How much time do you need? Sorry, Jason. How much time do you need before you feel like you could put a quality competitive product on? Like, how much time do you need? Minimum.
Shoot, what we've all agreed is that it's a 6-week return to play model, which means 6 weeks from the start of our season.
Yeah.
It's the minimum time that we would typically want to have, especially, we're still a semi-new program in that, we've had a year under our belt, but missing spring football and, again, just the where we are today and how we're trying to develop this team, 6 weeks would be the minimum, but I'd love to have as much time as the NCAA would give us.
So your
Just for
first,
the
your
future.
first game September 5th. So you're talking about sometime in late July is when you want to get together.
At the latest.
Yeah,
The latest.
that would be the latest based off of what we've talked about as a conference, and I think this has been adopted or will be adopted. Every conference, the 6-week return to play based off of the medical people who understand the makeup of what it takes conditioning level-wise and preparation-wise to be able to put a team out that's in shape and ready to roll. So most conferences I think have or will adopt this 6-week return to play model.
Coach Locksley, why don't you tell us about Late Night with Locks?
I'm glad it's over. Late Night with Locks is done.
It's done?
Yeah, my
limited
plan
run?
was yeah, I wanted to utilize it to get through the pandemic, and when we started back up football, which June 1, we again went back to our virtual meeting modes with our players. With preparation of hopefully being able to return in the next week or two with our players. I need to make sure I put my time and energy in what I'm getting paid to do, is just to try to put together a football team that can go out and play winning football. So it was a great run. I enjoyed it, but I'll leave it to you experts, man, trying to get people.
Your last guest, Coach, not bad to look at.
Who was that?
Card champion.
You talking about Sean Payton? I didn't know you liked Sean
No, I'm
Payton.
talking about card champion.
He probably does. Probably does. Jason,
You know
too.
who I was talking about.
Always got to throw me under the bus. Hey, Coach, I don't know how much you can talk about it or want to talk about it, but can you tell us the status of Talia Tungavailoa's waiver process? Where is he at on that?
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, nothing has been filed. We are looking into the possibility of filing a waiver on his behalf. He started summer school June 1, and again, we're excited to have added a guy like him and with his abilities to the quarterback room. Having Lance LeJean returning and healthy, as well as, Josh Jackson in year 2 in our system, having 2 scholarship quarterbacks is a scary thought to go through a season with, especially here at Maryland, where I've seen all happen, having to play a linebacker at quarterback in the 2012-2013 season, I think. And adding Talia and his skill set and what I know about him as a player is definitely improves our team, improves that room, and creates the competitiveness that you want out of every position. And very hopeful that if there's a waiver that can be filed, that we're able to file it and see where it goes.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we'll be paying attention for sure, because you're definitely making some waves there, Coach.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's good to have your insight. And if you ever need to get the word out or there's a message out there that you want, of course, you always have this platform available to you. Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Coach
thank you,
Locks.
buddy.
Keep locking them down.
He is. He's locking them in.
Love it.
Locking them in.
Love to see it.